Hey everybody, it's Daniel Bodkin from Isokinetics 101. And if you couldn't tell by watching episode 5, John could talk for days on isokinetic strengthening and eccentric loading. And he ran over a little bit. We didn't get a chance to go through all the different videos. We want to show some clips of shoulder, isokinetic strengthening, elbow, wrist, as well as ankle. So we're going to go ahead and get on those right now for you. In this video, we see eccentric unloading for the shoulder external rotators. So Chris is riding the machine up concentrically, and then when it gets to the top, he's going to lift his hand off of the adapter arm and slowly lower down. And this is the same that we saw with the quadriceps earlier. This is great to use when you're first starting active range of motion or assisted range of motion with your post-op shoulders. Or if you just have a patient who is not post-op, but they don't have that full active range of motion. This next clip, we see slow speed eccentric loading. So again, he's not giving any pressure concentrically, but eccentrically, he's going to load up into that pad. And you can see we've adapted this pad a little bit. That way it takes the wrist extensors out of it. We just put a pad around the handle there. Now we see Chris performing the deceleration training for the shoulder. And so you can see just in these 3 videos some of those shoulder progressions, but we didn't show each individual speed like we did with the quad. Here we see eccentric loading for the pronator teres. This is big for your Tommy John patients. You can start this with them about week 8 with that really slow 5 degree per second eccentric loading, and you could progress them through. Go ahead and look at his medial elbow. You'll see that he has the typical Tommy John scar, but watch that pronator teres. This really gets that muscle firing and works on the strength really well for them. And here we see eccentric loading for the wrist flexor group. Again, this is big for your Tommy John patients, post-op week 8, but any wrist pathology, whether it be sprains or strains, you can use this for those patients. Moving on, now we're on the extensor side of the wrist and forearm. So any of your patients with lateral epicondylitis of the elbow or any elbow, wrist, sprain, strains, you can work this position with them. Here we see our patient exercising eccentrically for the radial deviation. Again, this is big for your lateral epicondylitis patients. It's a great position to use that can really target that lateral extensor mass of the elbow. And to finish off tennis elbow, our patient here is eccentrically supinating as that handle is being rotated down. And not only does this work, the supinator for tennis elbow is also going to put a great eccentric load to his biceps. So for any biceps pathology that you have, this is really good for that. This is another way to load that bicep eccentrically with the traditional elbow flexion. Now he's pulling up into flexion as the adapter arm is moving him into extension. So we're just working him eccentrically through that motion. Here's our same patient here, but now he's working his triceps. So he's going to be extending the elbow eccentrically as the machine is moving him into flexion. Lastly, let's move on to the ankle. An isokinetic device is a great way to load eccentrically after ankle sprains or any foot ankle pathology. Here we're loading the everters eccentrically as the machine is moving the ankle into inversion. The last position is for the Achilles tendon. So our patient here is going to be eccentrically plantar flexing as the ankle is moved into dorsiflexion. There's two positions. You can see supine here with the knee bent, but you can also load them in prone with the knee fully extended, which is going to put more tension through the Achilles tendon.